For more on the developments in Lebanon, I'm now joined by medical doctor and elected representative of the Lebanese political party Citizens in a State, Dr. Anis Germani. Thank you so much for joining us and welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so these protests, it seems as if this ill feeling and this dissatisfaction has been running for quite a while, that it ended up pouring onto the streets.
Yes, well, it wasn't unexpected, especially when there is a blatant mixture of refusal to deal with the crisis and ineptitude to do so. So the inevitable consequence of this is a continuous crash, and a crash that will lead us to a bottomless pit, basically, and more poverty, more anger, more resentment, more violence. All that we're seeing today is a natural consequence of refusing to deal with the financial crisis.
So what has government been saying? Are they trying, or are they just unable to deal with the issues?
Unfortunately, what they're saying is completely off point and blatantly ridiculous. They've only been, arguing amongst each other who gets what, how many ministers do they get in each cabinet, who gets what eventually. But they're not discussing a single thing pertaining to the financial crisis, how to deal with the distribution of losses, what to do with the sectors, what to do with security forces, nothing whatsoever. So it's like they're completely disconnected from reality. And they're doing this basically on purpose because they're all waiting for a sign from their foreign sponsors to tell them what to do. And until these foreign powers can agree on something amongst each other or agree to disagree, their pawns within Lebanon are not going to make any decision that might expose them in the future.
There was a change in government not so long ago, and there was a hope that things would change, but it sounds as if the issues are more of the same.
Well, if you want to call it change, it's only a change in appearance. I mean, there was the so-called technocratic government of Hassan Diab, although I don't believe there is such a thing as a technocratic government, because, a government is meant to take political decisions, and there is no such thing as an expert way to take political decisions. So eventually, even these people, they ended up failing. They ended up doing nothing for in terms of managing the crisis. They even proposed some kind of plan that wasn't perfect at all, but even that was refused by the sectarian leaders. So they were only appointed as a front to the sectarian leaders to just pass the time until the foreign governments could make some kind of agreement on Lebanon, and that agreement did not happen. And so then the explosion of the port of Beirut happened, and the government resigned. So then they reappointed somebody else to be prime minister. That guy couldn't make it work. And then we went full circle back to Saad al-Hariri, and we have yet to see a government.
Just how difficult is life for the average Lebanese at the moment?
Honestly, I would equate it to a humanitarian crisis. People are struggling to find their daily medications, and I see this in my practice. People are having a very hard time affording their own food. I mean, only last week we saw truly shocking videos of people fighting over sugar, over milk in supermarkets. Most people have lost their jobs, and all of them have lost their savings. So, and I fear that we haven't seen the last of it. This is only the beginning.
And are these challenges right across the country, or is it mostly in the bigger cities?
Well, it is worse in the bigger cities only because we see more people there. That's all. But the crisis has hit every single aspect of life in Lebanon, and everybody has been deeply affected, whether it is the middle class, the lower classes, even the rich. And the actual struggle here today is who is going to pay how much losses is each person going to handle, and this indecision is just a way of buying time until they can figure out what to do. And honestly, buying time has become more and more expensive, and will lead us to greater losses and a greater catastrophe.
What needs to happen? It seems as if the leaders that are on the table at the moment either unwilling or just unable to solve these issues. Does there need to be a change in the political system and a new body of people to take the country forward?
Absolutely. The sectarian system in which we've been living for the past 30 years is based on not taking any decision. If it takes any kind of decision, it will crumble. So for the past 30 years, we've been miraculously living in a system that has refused to take any kind of decision. So the only way to move forward is for people who want to build a secular state to take over power, and Citizens in a State, the party that I'm a member of, has proposed a plan for a year and a half to take over power within, to basically assert a kind of a peaceful transition of power through negotiations with these sectarian leaders, to form a government with exceptional legislative powers for over a period of time of a year and a half, to distribute the losses in a fair and purposeful way, and eventually build a stable economy and build a more stable political system that does not just crumble and fall every single time some kind of event happens that requires any kind of decision.
So with the people's patience tested beyond what they can bear, do you see these demonstrations and these roadblocks continuing, even in the face of tough action by the authorities?
Well, there was this saying about Lebanon, about how people just always find a way to go on as if it was something good. Unfortunately, it is such a terrible thing to have as a people, because the more you wait on a failed system, the more expensive its failure becomes. And I think here we actually hit the end of the line with this current system. There is no turning back. However much people might want it, there's no turning back. But what's even more tragic is that the more we delay dealing with the crisis, the worse it gets. And from what we are seeing today, as long as these people are in power, the worse it's going to get. And of course, people are going to get more resentful, more angry. But what's terrifying is that they're going to become violent, because when people are threatened with their own survival, this is when they get violent. So the very fabric of society will be in danger.
And then finally, we've run out of time, but I just need to get an update. The explosion that killed more than 200 people, there was supposed to be an investigation and people brought to account. Has that ever happened?
Well, it's been 8 months and absolutely not. The only investigation that we know of has been done by investigative journalists, lawyers, and experts. There is no institution that has issued any kind of statement regarding any kind of investigation. The only thing that they did was a few months ago, they removed the judge that was responsible for the dossier because he wanted to question the prime minister and 2 other ministers. One is an ex-minister. So this is the only thing they did. But honestly, I am not surprised. And at the same time, we cannot expect them to come up with any kind of conclusion to what happened. Because we as a people have been living under a series of traumas for the past 30 years, whether it's bomb assassinations, whether it's wars, civil wars, massacres, everything. And we have never, ever reached a conclusion. And when we do, it's never plausible. People do not trust any kind of official institution to tell them what reality is so that they can move on. So the only way to find answers would be to have these institutions that everybody trusts.
All right. Dr. Anis Germani, thank you so much indeed for joining us and telling us about the situation in your country. We hope that things improve for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right, that's Dr. Anis Germani, who's the representative of the Lebanese political party Citizens in a State, speaking to us from Beirut.